Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Thought I'd take a look at the new GFS as it's coming in, and we'll look at the NAM and a few other things. I'm a little, I guess, a little underwhelmed by all of this, the way it's evolving. What is now turning into sort of a warm front situation. They're always a little bit tricky. They can outperform often, and as many times as they outperform, they can often disappoint. So let me show you. Let's show you what's going on. I'm going to start first with the upper air, and this is basically the jet stream at 18,000 feet, and you can see here we have the approaching disturbance is right there. The flow is kind of a fast west to east flow, and you've got the disturbance that is fairly well defined. And right up here is the base of the vortex that's coming down with cold air. And what's happening is you see that disturbance stays identifiable and somewhat amplified. And this is a problem because it winds up pulling the primary low further north and sets it up as a warm front. And eventually, instead of getting a wave redeveloping on the front up to the south, which would trap in the cold air, the wave develops basically on top of you, and then you wind up with whatever you wind up with, because eventually you just warm up and rain. So you have to hope from the standpoint of snow that you're sitting right underneath where the development is, and you catch a big burst of precip and then done. But that gets kicked out, and you can see that vortex just comes right down as we go through the second part of next week. Now, there's going to be, because of all this energy here, you're going to have an Arctic front of some kind, and there's going to be a wave on that front that's going to develop and move to the northeast. And what'll probably happen with that is that there will be some snow that will form with it inside the cold air, and it would probably set up something like this, just inland of the coast, at least initially. And what you have to watch for is that as that wave moves up the coast, are you going to wind up with rain changing over to snow? And this is for the middle part of next week before the cold air gets in. But let's go first things first, and let me just back it up for you. So here's our wave that's coming out. We're cold through the weekend, and it's at this point, this is at 1 a.m. Sunday morning, that you have a warm front like this, and to the north it's cold enough that you get this burst of snow that in this area here. This is where you'll wind up with a 3 to 6 hour period of snow, and then after that it just changes over to rain, and for areas to the north and east, you're going to have to wait to see how far north that warm air actually gets. But you can see by morning that the warm front has pushed a little further to the north. It's kind of like this. You see where the isobars kind of bulge a little bit right in here. So there's probably some kind of low center that's going to try and form there at some point. And then that rain snow line gets all the way up to Albany. But they for upstate New York and interior New England, they could put down several to many inches before that happens. And then as we move along into Tuesday and Wednesday, here's that Arctic front with low pressure that develops it has two lows here, one in western Virginia, one in western North Carolina, and then it's got another surface low. This will probably be the main wave that will develop and move northeastward. Now, it does track offshore. If this were a little further south, it's quite possible that you could get cold air to come in and change the rain over to snow down along the coast. Right now, the way it's drawn, you've got, here we go. You got the snow line just inland of the coast. And actually, this could be a fairly decent snowfall for somebody. And then that wave moves along to the northeast. You might see the rain change over to snow before ending on the coast, assuming that track is correct. If it's a little further south, then you might have the cold air being a little more important, and it could be more, you could have rain changing to snow at the coast a lot faster, or it could even wind up being an all-snow event, depending on one thing or another. And then as far as we can go, which is a week from today, it gets very cold, but the core of the cold air actually winds up staying a little further north. This is probably due to the fact that the vortex itself is not going to maybe not come down as far south as how it was originally modeled by the GFS. The European sort of backed away from that yesterday, and so did the Canadian. So there is support from other models with the idea that the core of the cold air would probably be a little further to the north. So, I don't have any huge complaints about that. So let's look and see what the Canadian model is doing. And as far as the first event, we have enough out on the Canadian model to see what that's doing. And it's the same idea for the most part, although again, it wants to have more of a bit of a weaker system, but now it's joined the other models, and the same idea with the warm front. It just stays a little bit colder, a little bit longer, but I think the outcome is going to be the same pretty much. So I have those snow amounts that I put out earlier. I'm kind of thinking that I might go a little lower in terms of totals. The Canadian model is still the most aggressive with snow amounts, and I'll show you that. And you can see it's backed off now to some degree. It has no snow over eastern Long Island and coastal New Jersey. Barely a coating to an inch on Long Island. Now it only has maybe about a couple of inches for New York City and some 4-inch amounts in northwest New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, and interior Connecticut. Looks like north of Route 15, but it's not really showing any big deal. And you can see where the bigger amounts wind up happening, which is in upstate New York, around Albany, Burlington, up into New Hampshire, which would make total sense given what we're seeing here. That's the Canadian. Here's the GFS snowfall. It has this is now through. Let me just make sure I got the right time frame. So this is through Wednesday. And you can see, again, it kind of matches up well. It's also backed off a little bit. It has a slightly broader area of 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 inches down to about New York City into northeastern New Jersey and the southern areas of the Hudson Valley, and a little bit more on Long Island, but not much more. And then you add the snows from the second wave, and then it really kind of adds up. It actually gives probably about 4 to 8 inches just inland of the coast with the second wave. So we'll have to see what happens with respect to the Arctic front, because that might be something to watch also. And just to show you with the NAM being the warmer of all the models, it has the warm front forming the furthest north. It has no snow across New York City, and except for northwest New Jersey and interior areas of the Hudson Valley, where it gives a coating to a couple of inches, and that's just about it. And it only goes out till Monday night, but that should be enough. And you can see the big amounts on the NAM model are also further to the north. All right, so I'll be putting up some posts this afternoon on the website, meteorologistjoechaffee.com. Download my weather app and subscribe to my forecast, just 99 cents a month for New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Long Island, Connecticut, and the Hudson Valley. And I'll just put it out there. Please feel no obligation. There's a tip jar on my website. If you want to buy me a cigar, I would be most appreciative. So anyhow, thank you very much. And thank you all, by the way, for being here. I'm going to try and make sure. I always try to make sure at least I get in there once a day to answer all your posts. So just bear with me while it's busy. I may be a little late on that, but I really appreciate you being here. And if you would, you can subscribe to my YouTube video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's absolutely free, and it will stay absolutely free. I will never charge for these videos. So I like having everybody here, and I'm really enjoying doing them. But if you subscribe to the channel, it helps me out with Google, with the ads they put on and all the rest of it. So anyhow, have a great day, and we will fill you in on all the gory details later.